Hello, hello. Alright, hello guys. I thought I would be back. Glad I could make it today. Alright, you guys, we're on part 6 of 1 Kings. We are going to get into King Samuel's conflict, right? We began to touch on it just a little bit as he was building up idols, essentially idols and places of worship for many of his wives, as they worshipped other gods, right? He married from all tribes descending from the Canaanites, right? And they do worship other gods. So this was the beginning of his downfall right then and there. We're going to go ahead and read about what came out without giving everything away. You know, we have a few main points here, but let's go ahead and start out with a quote. It says, "Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed." All right, so we have these concepts of war and peace, right? Commonly seen as contrasting opposites. Very much like the relationship and the nature of both King David and King Solomon. So King Solomon was all about collaboration, although he was a very abrupt and vigorous, I would say, a vigorous kind of ruler and a vigorous kind of king. He was focused on collaboration. He had kind of an inquisitive mind, a very inquisitive mind. He really grew on wisdom and communicating with others, collaborating with others, such and such. So he had more of a peaceful mind, considering the fact that because they focused on collaboration as a nation, there wasn't really a lot of war that was going on. As for David's side, David's era was much more war heavy. Not to say that King Solomon didn't get involved into any conflicts or anything like that, but I mean, reading just the section where David was ruling, it was very war heavy. With this too, in order to avoid conflict, the defenses of peace must be constructed. We're going to learn about what the best defense of peace is, and you might already know this, is the Lord God, right? Solomon actually does fail to consult the Lord in this time. He's going through, a troubling time. He's getting a bit older. He fails to, I'm getting way ahead of myself here. We're not even talking about Solomon. We're talking about somebody else. So, stop in this. Just remember what I said. The Lord to construct the peace, but it must begin in our hearts to go ahead and consult the Lord. I'll leave it at that. I'm a little jumbly today. A little jumbly bumbly. All right, let's go ahead and begin with chapter 11, and it says here, "Then the Lord raised up against Solomon an adversary, Haddad the Edomite, from the royal line of Edom." Earlier, when David was fighting with Edom, Joab, the commander of the army, who had gone up to bury the dead, had struck down all the men in Edom. But Haddad, still only a boy, fled to Egypt with some Edomite officials who had served his father. Alright, so we have the escapee, the one that got away. We have the sole Edomite, right? There might have been a few others, considering that it was both him and the Edomite officials that escaped to Egypt. But we have this Edomite that is left, and he is going to be one of Solomon's adversaries. It says here also, Jeroboam, son of Nebat, rebelled against the king. He was one of Solomon's officials, an Ephraimite from Zeredah. His mother was a widow named Zeruah. It says here is the account of how he rebelled against the king. Solomon had built the terraces and had filled the gap in the wall of the city of David, his father. Now Jeroboam was a man of standing, and when Solomon saw how well the young man did his work, he put him in charge of the whole labor force of the tribes of Joseph. So, shows here Jeroboam was a well-respected gentleman, right? He was naturally a leader, naturally a ruler, which is why King Solomon put him ahead of this labor force. So he built up a reputation for himself, right? People look to him for support and guidance. It says here, about this time, Jeroboam was going out of Jerusalem, and Ahija, the prophet of Shiloh, met him on the way wearing a new cloak. And Ahija took a hold of the new cloak he was wearing and tore it into 12 pieces. He then said to Jeroboam, "Take 10 pieces for yourself. The Lord, the God of Israel, says, See, I'm going to tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hand and give you 10 tribes. Of my servant David, and the city of Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, he will have 1 tribe. As for you, I will take you, and you rule over all that your heart desires. You will be king over Israel." So it says here, we'll just pause for a second. I mean, this is clear, right? We have Jeroboam, this respected Israelite, and we have the 12 tribes representing the 12 pieces of the cloak. I had just a little bit of a glitch there. Representing the 12 pieces of the cloak, we have the 12 tribes. Jeroboam is supposed to reign over all of the 10 tribes, and then 1 for David. Where that leaves the other one, I'm not so sure. I think they might have been talking about the Benjamites, which might be kind of like a half tribe. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and continue. It says, Solomon reigned in Jerusalem, over all Israel, 40 years. Then he rested with his ancestors, and he was buried in the city of David, his father. And Rehoboam, his son, succeeded him as king. All right, so that was just a rise and a fall. How soon did we expect Solomon's death? It does leave out quite a bit of detail of Solomon's reign. We learned kind of the bulk and the meat and potatoes, and there's a lot more that you can learn about King Solomon that has been recorded. But for now, it's over, right? And the succession was seamless since he had plenty of sons. Something I forgot to mention here was Solomon was very, 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 very fertile, and more so a lover's man. We thought David was a lover's man, okay? Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines, okay? I don't even know how this is possible. Where does he find the royal wives? I don't know, right? 700 wives. So the succession was fairly easy and fairly smooth. We're going to learn a little bit more about Rehoboam. Something also that this prophet, though, Ahija, said to Jeroboam, he's like, you're going to reign, but you're not going to take the throne from David, right? You're going to take it from his son. So that's also something that the Lord had mentioned in regards to Jeroboam. Anyways, it says here, it's interesting because the names are similar. We have Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Like, the spelling is a little bit congruent. But anyways, when King Rehoboam consulted the elders who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime, I'm already missing a word here. Hold on. Pause. For a quick second. I'm rushing a little bit, you guys. I'm sorry. It feels strange to do this in midday. It's 11. 11:42. 11:42. Solomon reigned in Jerusalem. Oh, past that. 12:6. Okay. King consulted the elders. Oh, then, not when. Then, okay. So now the successor, right? Solomon's son. Then King Rehoboam consulted the elders who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime. And he asked them, "How would you advise me to answer these people?" he asked. So this is where I got confused, because I thought it was Solomon who was not consulting the Lord. It was his son that did not, instead of praying to the Lord and going to the Lord, right, and having that be the thing recorded, he immediately goes to the little birdies and talks with the elders. I think that they gave him some sound advice. They replied, "If today you will be a servant to these people and serve them and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servants." Something also too, the people were under a lot of oppression, okay? It's not really mentioned, but during Solomon's reign, we did talk about the 12 district generals, right? That was supposed to take taxes and things like that. So that causes a little bit of stress and undesirable outcomes within the Israelite people and within their hearts. They felt maybe that they were being taken advantage of. So they were hoping and pressuring Rehoboam for a lighter term, right? So while he's king, can they have a little bit of relief from maybe the taxes or the supplements, right? Whatever those things were, those yes, you know what I'm talking about. The goods that they were really forced to provide under Solomon's kingship. So they were pressuring Rehoboam, and so he asked, he's like, "What can I do?" And then the elders, I think they gave a good response. They said, "Yes, tell them you'll serve them and give them a good answer, appease them, and then they will be calm." But for whatever reason, Rehoboam did not like that, okay? So he neglected that advice, and he went to his brothers. And he asked his brothers, again, denying God the second time. He asked his brothers, what should I do? And they said, go absolutely harsh, right? Go absolutely harsh. Tell them your wrist is, or your your pinky finger is thicker than King Solomon's wrist, in the sense that he was going to be even worse of an oppressor. So, anyways, the king answered the people harshly, rejecting the advice given to him by the elders. When all Israel saw that the king refused to listen to them, they answered the king, "What share do we have in David? What part in Jesse's son? To your tents, Israel. Look after your own house, David." Okay, so this is something familiar, right? We heard this before, back in 2 Kings. We're in 1 Kings. This was 2 Samuel. Excuse me. I wanted to say 2 David or what have you. 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel. Anyways, they rejected Rehoboam. They rejected him, and they said, "We have no part in you." So this is kind of the beginning of his short reign, his downfall. It says here, the Israelites went home. But as for the Israelites who were living in the town of Judah, Rehoboam still ruled over them. So this is honestly one of the first acts of democracy that we see. I mean, there's a few small acts here and there, but this one is really standing out to me as one of the first acts of democracy in Israel, when they literally said, we're not going to take part in this rulership, we're going to do our own thing. That's essentially what they said. But it says here, as for the Israelites living in the town of Judah, Rehoboam still ruled over them, whether that was just by nature of, where Rehoboam was staying, or, if they were actually going to be loyal to Rehoboam, we don't know. But this is probably the one piece of the cloak that the Lord had provided the house of David. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. I know I rushed right through that. I'm not really keeping up with the pace as far as I get so excited. I write a lot down when I have good energy, and then when it comes to coming on here and telling you guys, my battery is draining just a little bit. I've given you so many breaks. I've given you so many breaks thus far. But that's it, you guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day once again. And I should see you very soon. I'm not going to keep the break so long this time. Alright. Thanks for listening. Have a good rest of your day.